Do you remember that halcyonic dream of draining the swamp of its incumbents? Do you remember the dreams promised to you by if you ain't black, then you don't like Joe Biden pack? Do you remember all of those days? Now we've got Kamala Harris, who seems to be in position to secure the black vote. But let's be honest, I've seen Italians with darker skin than Kamala Harris. The black label gets more and more ridiculous as time goes along. She descends from a family of Indian politicians. Her father was a Stanford economics professor of Jamaican origin, but she doesn't seem to be very fond of him and vice versa. But the real question is there any way to buy political futures in mixed-race children of college professors whose fathers are black but not African American? There's a quaint difference here, one that veers towards acceptability and one towards derision. It seems this is the perfect formula of lefty intellect and urban appearances to satisfy identity-driven Democrats. It seems to be anything they care about. Someone generally needs to concoct and exchange traded products for this. Seriously, we can make absolute fortunes. But let's actually be honest. There's been so many changes since 2016. Employment worse, GDP growth worse, trade deficit worse, fiscal deficit off a cliff, national debt worse, nation's health, don't make me laugh, generally, national security, which sold backdoors to every substantive platform, into your future, into your past, into your present. It's actually insane. Why not stake a claim to the black leaders of tomorrow? The political landscape makes it impossible not to see your option positions linked to anything but meritocracy. But who cares? We're just interested in the inclusion factor if nothing else. We've already got the world handed to Russia and China on a platter. That's done. Expanded golf schedule. That's done. Roger Stone, return to corruption duties. That's done. Chinese trademarks for Ivanka. That's emphatically done.
The thing that was totally different than he called the.
And this is what we're working with. No worries if Biden, Harris, Obama, Clinton can fix everything. Fill your boots with geriatrics and senile, bigoted idiots. It will take a long time, a very, very long time to fix the damage done by Trump. The emperor who has no clothes. He's burned up 70 years of our political capital and our financial capital, and he would really run on his achievements if he actually had any, but he doesn't. It's a great choice by Biden.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna.
Kamala Harris is intelligent and will demolish the obsequious Mike Pence. But since when did anything like that matter? It doesn't matter. The biggest issues facing us are that we need to get someone who represents us. But in all essence, she doesn't. It's a good choice by Biden. It's a strategic choice by Biden. Kamala Harris is intelligent and will demolish the obsequious Mike Pence. She will expose the failure to manage COVID, which Trump called a hoax, lest we forget. The foreign policy mistakes in the Middle East, Iran, that comes to mind, and the numerous geopolitical ties. It's all very troubling. And the errors by Trump, the countless errors by Trump, which somehow seem to be shoved under the carpet at every possible juncture. But she will appeal to many liberals who want one nation of cohesiveness, the African Americans who need legal reform.
I have a great relationship with the blacks. I've always had a great relationship with the blacks.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest?
No president has done more for our black community.
George is looking down right now and saying there's a great thing that's happening for our country.
It's
a great day for him. It's a great day for
I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Everybody.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But if it wasn't so depressing, it would actually be laughable. But I think we can capture the essence of Trump's press briefings in this.
Barack Obama had a big part of 9/11.
Which part?
Not being around, always on vacation, never in the office.
Why do you think Barack Obama wasn't in the Oval Office on 9/11?
That I don't know. We'd like to get to the bottom of that.
There are those of you who say Mr. Trump is not a racist. He is pro-American. Any disrespect to the American anthem or the American flag is not only insulting, but should be absolutely disbanded, never tolerated by anyone who is pro-American. But don't pretend to be American when you're clearly not. You have no idea. Calling someone who defends free speech in American or un-American says it all. A black man was murdered by a cop who stared into a camera with the calm of normalcy as the man cried out for his dead mother. Floyd knew he was going to die in saying that. Over and over this happens, and POTUS denies the depth of this betrayal to constitutional rights such as life. You know that little quaint thing called life that we all take for granted? Trump is a racist, he's a misogynist, but nothing has changed since the founding of America. These characteristics are driven by a deeper issue. His cruelty and psychosis was synonymous with a vast swathe of American intellects. Trump is inimical to the American values that were once espoused. His supporters are white nationalists and neo-Nazis, which is also anathema, or apparently anathema to the idea of America. The GOP does its darndest to deny the American people the ability to vote. Ultimately, whenever Trump or one of his supporters level a charge upon people, both are projecting. Just think about that for a second. The most racist president ever. The most racist president ever. Seriously? But let's be honest, it's only in the last 150 years. Trump isn't the most racist president ever. The last 12 presidents who owned slaves, were they not racists? CNN and MSNBC have sapped your logic. Kneeling during the national anthem really shows patriotism, right? That's what all of these people genuinely think. Well, let's see here. Certainly, slavers and slave owners, you know, those great people, they're so un-American that monuments to them should never exist on American soil, right? But how is it un-American for one of its prominent citizens to kneel in a completely peaceful protest of so many US citizens being denied their very lives by law enforcement? But Trump is worse. He is backed by neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Bannon, you know, those people who defraud you for building the wall, making America great again, USA. People like Miller, the troika that scouted him as a pathway to power. Outlets like Fox were founded to promote the interests of these people, which is to gain and project power. It's that simple. Given Kamala performed poorly in the primaries, I wonder why they think she will actually help the ticket in November. Lots of talk about black women being a powerful force in 2020, but the other 50% of black men don't seem to actually matter. I'll give this. Ms. Harris is an impressive public speaker, and to European eyes, most of her supposedly radical socialist views are quite mainstream and unremarkable. She is vastly more capable than the boorish, corrupt, and almost comically incompetent Mr. Trump. Personally, I'd have no trouble voting for her, but I'm not an American. The key question is not whether Ms. Harris appeals to moderates in other countries, but whether she adds to the Biden's chances, to the ticket, to the successes of America, and to the success of his presidency or his possibilities of becoming president. There are only two ways in which she can help. Either by luring the marginal votes from Mr. Trump or by motivating potential non-voters to turn out for the Democrats. I find it enormously difficult to understand Mr. Trump's appeal. When his supporters are interviewed on television, their willingness to look reality in the eye and to flatly deny incontrovertible facts is astonishing. How can Ms. Harris hope to make a dent in that? To paraphrase Mr. Swift, you can't reason a person out of a position that they weren't reasoned into. Trump has always campaigned on hatred. 4 years ago it was the Mexicans and the Muslims, this time it's just the Chinese and the African Americans. Except suburban women won't have to worry about poor folk darkening the land value of their neighborhoods. The left are all violent criminals, female reporters are often trash. The police, they should rough up and beat people. Judges that rule against Trump are by definition biased based on race. Trump's press conferences are a sad joke of random mumbling and wild conspiracy and accusations. If Ms. Harris does become the vice president, it isn't her job to unravel the effects of propaganda and manipulation Kool-Aid. The best campaign ad against Trump is his own words and behavior. I repeat, the best campaign ad against Trump is his own words and behaviour, Biden is not a great campaigner. Fortunately, Trump is self-destructing. What happens if Mr. Biden turns up his toes before Election Day? All kidding aside, before Election Day, the party can still choose their nominee. It is likely to be the running mate, but not obligatory. After an election, the constitutional line of succession takes over. Here, it is interesting that two centrist candidates are forming a ticket, traditionally a centrist Democrat who would pick a running mate from a progressive side of the party. Of course, colour matters. Of which world you live in, anyone who says colour doesn't matter is absolutely blind. Of course it matters. Black is the new orange, so anything black is popular and good. It wins the vote, and that's what matters. If Trump wins, it will be 4 more years of denial politics, wrapped in identity politics, masquerading as real issues. America was unlike any other country, on earth. Now, instead of seeing earthlings equally as one people, we are forced to choose based on skin color, ethnicity, and gender. It's shameful. It's utterly shameful.